Okay, hi guys. I think in those past videos you've seen that I have lightsabers. I have a whole bunch of collections, collectibles and statues like Iron Man and all that. But you should have guessed by now I'm a very big geek and a nerd, so I also collect comics. I'm going to show you some of the comics that I actually have. Okay, so this is where I keep a lot of my comics. So I'm going to start right at the top. As you can see from over here, I have the full collection of 100 bullets. So 100 bullets is a premise where there's this mysterious Agent Graves, and basically what he does is he gives people a chance to exact revenge, and he gives them 100 bullets to exact revenge, and those are untraceable bullets. So the premise is whether you would go ahead and do that or not, right? I have Irredeemable, some Thor, I have Universe X, Earth X, I have the entire series of The Boys, and The Boys was actually made into an Amazon Prime series. So this is very violent and very full of profanity, but very good series. And I have almost the entire collection of Sin City. So way back in the early 90s, Frank Miller, the guy who drew The Dark Knight, had a big series called Sin City, and he drew it predominantly black and white. So I have almost the entire series here, from original Sin City to That Yellow Bastard, Big Fat Kill, Dame to Kill For, all great stuff. I have some Green Lantern, Brightest Day. I have Flashpoint, and Flashpoint was a quite interesting series. And if you've watched the Flash on TV, I think they've used Flashpoint as one of the cornerstones of storyline. I've got Civil War 1 and I have the double bought Civil War. I have some Batman, I have All-Star Superman, Danger Girl, V for Vendetta, that was made into a movie, right? Yeah, and I've got some stuff down here. I've got Avengers versus X-Men. So, there were some rumors that before Endgame they wanted to do a storyline on Avengers. So yeah, a lot of people say, hey, why don't do Avengers versus X-Men? But no. So new Avengers, some Daredevil, X-Men Days of Future Past. So Days of Future Past was actually made into one of the movies. If you remember one of the X-Men movies where they went back into the past and then Wolverine came back to the future, right? So Civil War was actually basis of the Marvel Captain America, and so Civil War was quite a great storyline. So yeah, Captain America adapted from Civil War. Yeah, so that was when Captain America and Iron Man duked it out. But I think the most interesting thing about Civil War was actually SpiderMan, right? So SpiderMan actually he actually removed his mask in Civil War. So that never happened in the movie, right? So that's Civil War. I have Age of Ultron. So Age of Ultron was the basis of the Avengers movie. And then I have a whole bunch of, I guess, as you can see, I have a whole bunch of Ultimate Spider-Man and then Ultimate X-Men. So Marvel actually had an alternate universe, and they called the Ultimates universe, right? So what they did was they almost did like a reboot in the mid-90s, but they had their normal Marvel universe, and then they had alternate universe called which was a bit more contemporary, right? So that was actually quite great, right? So they had Ultimate Spider-Man, they had the Ultimates was the equivalent of the Avengers, right? And then they they wiped out the entire universe with Ultimatum, right? Which was pretty much they killed killed some of them a lot. Yeah, some Spider-Man now. So I've got Superior Spider-Man. So Superior Spider-Man is actually quite interesting. Superior Spider-Man was basically a storyline where Dr. Octopus, right, one of Spider-Man's nemesis, actually got his brain transferred into actually Spider-Man, right? So yeah, so that story was quite interesting. So it was Dr. Octopus as Spider-Man, and then him trying to prove that he was actually a better Spider-Man than Spider-Man, right? And then yeah, a whole bunch of Spider-Man. I have the complete clone saga. So I think in the 80s there was a clone saga where there was an alternate Peter Parker, and then there was this, and then Peter Parker had a clone called Ben Reilly. Yeah, it was interesting, and then the story just got too messed up, no, right? And then I had Maximum Carnage. So this was the introduction of Carnage, right? Which was almost like a more evil version of Venom, right? So this is Carnage, right? And then I had Daredevil. I had Secret Wars. That's quite a classic. I've got Crisis on Infinite Earths. So this Crisis on Infinite Earths is actually a comic in the 80s. A lot better than the Crisis on Infinite Earths that recently was shown on TV. So this one is great because this one had the death of not the death of Superman, it had the death of Supergirl. Actually had the death of the Flash also. So this is quite a great story. And then I had some Teen Titans. Yeah, so Teen Titans was also one of my favorites when I was growing up. So yeah, so Teen Titans was almost like the equivalent of the X-Men in the DC universe, right? And then I have some other alternate Spider-Man. I had Miles Morales. So Miles Morales was this black kid who was in the Ultimates universe, and he basically became like the alternate Spider-Man, right? And then I had this series called Spideyverse. So Spideyverse, if you remember, sometime last year there was a Spider-Man cartoon, right? And then they had all sorts of Spider-Man. So that was based on this comic, right? I have a whole bunch of. I've had the Ultimate Fantastic Four, Justice League, Joker. I had a whole bunch of Batman, Detective Comics, and Dark Knight. Yeah, a whole bunch of Dilbert. Yeah, a whole bunch of Dilbert, Far Side, and then I had quite a number of Iron Man, Invincible Iron Man, some X-Men. And so some of the classic X-Men I actually have was this one here. So this was way back in the early 90s. So this was the Death of the Phoenix. So this was when Jean Grey actually died, right? So a bunch of Batman. I have Batman Hush. I have Batman Nightfall. So Batman Nightfall was quite a crucial storyline. So this was I think this was when Bane, right? And this was the premise of the Dark Knight, the second part, right? So Bane fought Batman and broke his back. So yeah, so this Identity Crisis, All-Star Batman, right? Yeah. So yeah, so that represents some of the comics that I have, right?